For much of modern history, the Middle East is described as unstable, volatile, or perpetually conflicted. The language suggests fragility. And yet, for thousands of years, this same region has remained central to global power. Empires rise elsewhere, systems shift, technologies change, but attention keeps returning to the same narrow geography, not briefly, persistently, as if something beneath the surface refuses to let it fade. This episode examines why the Middle East continues to function as a strategic engine in world history, not as a moral story, not as a catalog of conflicts, but as a recurring pattern of power, geography, belief, and consequence that repeats regardless of who claims control. The focus is not a single empire or moment. It is the structure that outlasts them. Long before modern states existed, this region already carried pressure. It sat between continents, between seas, between climates. Trade routes did not pass through it by accident. They converged there because alternatives were longer, slower, or impossible. Control of land passages meant influence over movement. Influence over movement meant leverage. From the earliest empires, authority here was less about expansion and more about position. Power did not need to radiate outward. It only needed to hold. This created a distinct pattern. Rulers in the Middle East were rarely free to ignore external forces. They governed at the intersection of others' ambitions. Armies moved through. Merchants depended on access. Belief systems spread along the same paths as goods. Authority here was always exposed, never insulated. That exposure shaped governance. Stability was not achieved by distance, but by constant negotiation. Alliances mattered. Religious legitimacy mattered. Military presence mattered. No single factor was sufficient on its own. Power became layered, provisional, and vigilant. When empires elsewhere could afford periods of inward focus, rulers here rarely could. As centuries passed, the names changed, but the structure remained. Persian systems gave way to Hellenistic ones. Roman authority arrived, then fractured. Caliphates rose, unified vast territories, and then splintered. Each power inherited the same constraint: hold the crossroads or be shaped by it. The region did not generate constant conflict because of chaos. It generated pressure because it could not escape attention. With the rise of global maritime power, the logic shifted but did not disappear. Sea routes altered trade patterns, yet the Middle East retained strategic relevance through choke points. Narrow passages connecting larger systems became more valuable than open expanses. Control of a few miles of land or water could affect entire continents. Power condensed. As industrialization accelerated, new layers were added. Energy replaced spices. Oil replaced caravans. But the underlying structure was familiar. External systems depended on internal stability, yet rarely allowed it to exist without interference. The region was asked to be both stable and malleable at the same time. This contradiction never resolved. Authority in the Middle East often operated under external guarantees and external threats simultaneously. Rulers governed with one eye inward and one outward. Decisions were rarely local in consequence. A shift in policy could ripple far beyond borders. This produced a pattern of reinforced central authority. Not always popular, not always sustainable, but structurally incentivized. When the margin for error is thin, control tightens. Restraint becomes risky. Decentralization becomes dangerous. Power learns to harden. Belief also plays a different role under such pressure. In regions buffered by distance, belief can remain abstract, cultural, symbolic. Here, belief often becomes political infrastructure. It organizes loyalty, it legitimizes authority, it simplifies complexity in moments of uncertainty. When systems are under constant strain, shared meaning becomes a tool of governance. This does not make belief unique to the region. It makes its function more visible. The proximity of power, faith, and survival compresses distinctions that remain separate elsewhere. Over time, This compression creates durability alongside fragility. Regimes may fall, but the logic of control persists. Borders may shift, but strategic relevance remains. External powers come with promises of order, then discover they inherit the same constraints as their predecessors. No one escapes the structure. Modern geopolitics did not disrupt this pattern. It intensified it. The Middle East became embedded in global systems of security, energy, and ideology. Local decisions became global signals. Local instability became systemic risk. This amplified attention. Attention amplified intervention. Intervention amplified pressure. The engine accelerated. What is striking is how rarely strategy here produces closure. Campaigns end without resolution. Agreements hold without permanence. Conflicts freeze rather than conclude. Power circulates but does not settle. This is not failure in the conventional sense. It is the behavior of a system that cannot fully reset. When a region sits at the center of overlapping interests, equilibrium becomes temporary by definition. Stability is measured in pauses, not endpoints. Empires elsewhere could afford decline. They could lose relevance as trade routes shifted or technologies changed. The Middle East rarely receives that release. Its position is fixed by geography and reinforced by infrastructure. The cost of disengagement for others is perceived as too high. So, attention returns, again and again. This persistence shapes how history is remembered. Events are often framed as exceptional crises rather than structural continuities. Leaders are blamed, ideologies are targeted, solutions are proposed as if the system itself were neutral. But the pattern suggests otherwise. When power operates within tight corridors, choices narrow. When choices narrow, repetition increases. When repetition increases, history begins to resemble inevitability, even when it is built from human decisions. The region becomes a mirror for how global systems behave under constraint. This raises a more unsettling question. If the Middle East functions as a strategic engine, not because of who governs it, but because of where it exists within larger systems, what does that imply about power elsewhere? Are other regions stable because they are better governed, or because they are less exposed? If global attention were compressed onto them in the same way, would their political cultures adapt differently, or fracture similarly? The pattern challenges the belief that instability is purely local. It suggests that some regions absorb the structural costs of global order more than others, that some spaces become pressure valves for the entire system, and pressure, once concentrated, rarely dissipates on its own. As the future unfolds, technologies may shift again, energy systems may diversify, trade routes may evolve. Yet the underlying geography remains. Narrow passages do not widen. Continents do not drift on human timelines. The engine may change fuel. It rarely changes function. Perhaps the enduring question is not why the Middle East remains strategically central, but why global systems continue to rely on concentrated points of control at all. Why power prefers choke points over redundancy. Why efficiency so often overrides resilience. And what happens when systems grow so dependent on pressure zones that they can no longer imagine order without them. The region does not simply reflect conflict. It reflects how power organizes the world and what it costs to sit at the center of that organization. That cost has never fully been paid. It has only been redistributed across centuries, across empires, across names that change while the pattern remains. And as long as the structure holds, attention will return, pressure will build, and the engine will keep running. Not because history demands it, but because systems rarely question the foundations they depend on. Join us on Timeless Questions, where ancient stories, enduring ideas, and human nature meet in quiet reflection.